Welcome back, fellas. So for today, I've had enough of the Cotai side of Macau. All the games are probably the worst games I ever played. It kind of reminds me of the first time when I got to Vegas. I was jumping around casino to casino and they were all garbage. But then, out of nowhere, we found the Wynn Casino. And I just put in like 160 hours over the month there. The games were so good, the place was nice, the watermelon juice is great, which they have here. So, took a little trip, you saw that bus ride, and now we're over in Old Macau, here at the Wynn. Hoping to replicate what happened in Vegas. Hopefully the games are good. Also, one thing to note, it is the lowest rake in town for the 5100s, so it is a 3 big blind cap, which is amazing. 5100, 300 max cap, so better than the 500 they were taking, which is about 100 Canadian. Now it's about 60 Canadian, which is okay. And 5%, so decent. It's like online rake. Yeah. I think that's it. We're just gonna get in there, pray that the games are good, and then maybe we'll put on all our volume here, and it'll be nice. I'm feeling positive. It's gonna be good. Let's get in there. We're gonna buy in for 15,000 to the 5100, and we're gonna spin it up today. We're gonna play a long session today, as long as the games are good. Let's get in there. Alright guys, I'm going to be going over some hands that I played over at the Wynn. I asked them if I could film, but unfortunately due to, it's actually government legislation that filming or taking pictures in the casino is prohibido. So, no bueno, we cannot do it, no matter where it is. I don't even think we'll be able to film tournaments at WPT either. But that's okay. So, we're trying to win, hoping things go better. If you saw my last vlog, you saw just how tilting the games are. But this hand, Under the Gun has opened it up to 300. I looked at 4-3 suited, a very low frequency 3-bet, this time randomized, landed on 3-bet, 1K into the middle, full spec round, and he does make the call. Heads up to a flop of King 8-8 rainbow. Gonna start with a small bet here, but he can still have ace king. He could probably still have kings and aces. They're very trappy, so don't feel too great. Oh, this is Lord Stowe's. Everyone told me to try the egg tarts, so we're gonna go there next. King 8-8, put in a small bet of 500. Does not have to be big, it's a very dry board. My opponent makes the call. Turn, 6 of clubs. My opponent checks, let's try and fold out queens and below. So I put another bet of 2.5K, setting up for that river shove. I'm probably not gonna go for it though. My opponent once again makes the call. If this is any indication of the games in Macau, this man has ace-king minimum. So when we see the 8 of hearts on the river, my opponent checks, just gonna check this one back. My opponent rolls over, pocket fives. Pocket fives, boys. We might have a game here. That was incredible. He called turn with pocket fives. All right. Okay, I know we lost some money, but feeling good. Feeling good about this. This is such a cool little village. Just walking around here. So, the game is quite a bit better than the Cotai side, which is the south side of Macau, the new Macau. This Wynn is on the north side, old Macau. So anyways, the game's playing pretty good. So I'm going to try to go back to my original strategy where I'm sort of range betting and, you know, doing these things. One of the adjustments that I made for the old side, it's a very nuanced sort of concept, was to raise very wide pre-flop, because most hands you are taking them down pre-flop. But when you go up against a range that's incredibly tight, the roles are sort of reversed. So an ace high board is no longer good for the in position player because I'm raising like a big blind range and they're defending a like under the gun range. So we have to be very careful about c-betting. Our exploit is pre-flop. If pre-flop doesn't work, you just ditch it on the post-flop. But anyways, these games are the complete opposite. So I'm just gonna play my normal strategy, see how it goes. I open up ace deuce of clubs in the hijack to 300, folds around and big blind makes a call. We go heads up to this flop of 10, 8, 7, 1 spade, 2 clubs. My opponent checks, and on this board, you do want to have some bets, and I like the high and low flushes the most. So ace king, ace queen, ace jack, all be very nice checkbacks for nut flushes, and then anything below that. I think ace 8 or ace 9 would be a really nice checkback too. Anything below that, ace 5 and below, definitely gonna bet. So 500 in the middle, my opponent makes the call. Turns the king of spades, 2 flush draws on board now. My opponent checks once again. When there's 2 flush draws, you're in position. This card's a little bit better for me than it is for my opponent. Not by much, but a tiny bit. I'm gonna put in the old overbet. 2K into 1650, slight overbet. And once again, my opponent makes the call. We are heading to the river, and we do improve, but in a weird way. It's the ace of hearts, so we make top pair no kicker. It's a little bit tough here, a little bit tough, but he checks it over, and I think I got to go for value here. We can still get called by hand like 10-9, pair plus gut shot, hopefully. So I don't want to go too big here. I don't think we're ever getting check raised here. So about half pot. I put in a bet of 3.3K. My opponent gives it quite some thought, but eventually decides that's enough money. He's put into the pot and just lets it go. But picking up a nice pot here to start the session. Look at all these tourists. No, just kidding. So this next hand, under the gun has raised up to 300 and middle position has called, and we've done 10-7 suited on the button. This player has been raising up to 600 or sometimes 500 every single time, and this time it's smaller. So naturally, live poker, you attack these things. So I put in the squeeze, 1.3K. Now the under the gun player thinks for a bit, makes the call, and then the player that cold called now ships his stack in for 2,250. Annoying, but if we jam here, get the under the gun player to fold, hopefully not in cahoots. There's gonna be a ton of overlay, and it's barely anything to call. It's less than 1K, so I ship my stack in, under the gun gets out the way, and we're up against king 10 of clubs. Damn it, completely crushed. Flop comes down, ace king 3, all diamonds, turn 4 of clubs, river, 4 of diamonds, no help, we lose that one. All right, folks, on to this next hand, a little stream. Very action player. He was the player that opened up to 300 last hand. He's opened up to 400 this time. Varying his raise sizes, we've got 10-6 diamonds in big blind. Very happy to give this man action, especially with a hand like this. So I make the call. We go heads up to a flop of jack, 8, 3 rainbow, 1 diamond, no hope. I check, and my opponent quickly checks back. So at this point, I didn't know, but this man checks 100% of flops. He just snap checks, never, ever bets. All right, but we do face a lot of raises on the turn. So the turn comes down, the 9 of diamonds. What a beautiful card. We have an open ender and a flush draw. How did that even happen? We had nothing on the flop. But I'm gonna check it over to him. He's most likely going to bet, and he does bet 400. It is time to raise. This man, very high turn betting frequency, so I bump it up 1.5K into the middle. After a little bit of thought, he makes the call. We're off to the river, trying to improve. It is the deuce of clubs. We do not get there, but I'm still gonna go for it against this action player. Maybe it's a little bit suicidal, but I put $3,200 into the middle, and he gives it a little bit of thought, not too long, tosses in the call. My man has jack 8 suited for a flop top 2. That one's not gonna get through. We are on to the next hand. I'm gonna rebuy for 6K now. Just top the stack a little bit. All right, got myself a mojito. It's delicious. On to this next hand. I've been very card dead this session, like 2 hours without a hand. So when under the gun opens, middle position calls, I'll got a 4-3 suited in the hijack, I think. I'm gonna treat this like aces. I put in the squeeze up to 1.5K, and both my opponents make the call. We're going 3 ways to this flop. It comes down ace, queen, 5, with 2 diamonds, 1 heart. Gonna start with a small bet here. I put in 1.5K, and the under the gun player, the original raiser, makes the call. We head to the turn. It is another ace, 2 flush draws on board now. I'm just gonna check this one back. We have nothing going on here. So I check and we see the 3 of clubs on the river. So I make a pair. My opponent, very quick check over, and I don't think my 3 is ever good here, but if he had an ace, he would definitely bet it. So I'm gonna try and apply max pressure. The pot is around 7.6. I move all in, 9,000. My opponent gives it quite a bit of thought, but after quite some tanking, he decides 9K is too much, and he decides to let it go. We get it through, we get it through. All right, folks, I am very, very card dead. We played that 4-3 suited hand that was like an hour or 2 ago. Haven't played anything since, and now we pick up 9-7 of clubs in early position. Bump it on up. I lowered my raise size to 200. There's been quite a bit of 3-bets, so 200 until like cutoff or hijack, and then hijack onwards. Normal size 300. Anyways, 200. Now small blind puts in a re-raise. 1.1K. 5.5x. Big blind folds. I haven't played a hand in 2 hours. All right, I call. We go to a flop of Jack, 10, 3, 2 spades. All we have is an okay gut shot. You know, it's basically to the nuts. My opponent never has Queen 9 here, but he does bet 1.1K, about half pot. We got to float 1 street here, so I make the call. Turn's good. Turn is the 8 of spades, so we make our straight. Flush does get there though, and my opponent now checks it over. Definitely gonna want to bet here. Don't really know what sizing. I tend to go around half pot in these spots just so I can still bet a hand like Jack 10, maybe even Ace Jack. So 2.5K is my wager. My opponent calls. Hoping for a good river. We don't get it. It's a 9 of hearts. Gonna be extremely tough to get paid now by aces or kings. Queens have just got there. We still lose to flushes. So my opponent checks. I don't think there's any sense in value betting here. We're never getting called by worse. Like maybe a set of jacks, but I don't know. We're targeting too few hands, so I just check it back, and my 7 is indeed good. All right, guys, found a nice quiet little area to do a little update on how the game is going. My voice might sound a bit weird. It's because there's music playing right now, and you would roar if you could hear it. I don't know if you're gonna get that, but I can't afford to put it on my video. So anyways, game's good. Game's good. There's action. People are calling down with pocket fives. I love to see it. That last hand, I called a 5.5x 3-bet 9-7 suited. I'm very card dead right now. It's been about 3 hours. I played maybe 2 hands. Feeling it a bit. Feeling it a little bit, but we're going to get back in there and play better than that. But, like I said, the action is good. The dealers are really good, too. They can actually pitch cards. The other casinos, at the end, when they rake the pot, they count it all out, and then they figure it out, and then they rake it. Here, they just know what the pot is, and they just rake it. And it's easy, it's fast. We're getting like 15, 20, yeah, around 15, 20 hands an hour, so probably double what the other casinos are doing. Also, the chips are the proper color. It's so nice. Greens are 25, blacks are 100, yellows are 1,000. The purple's a bit weird, like a weird brownish color. Maybe they used to be purple when it got dirty, but whatever. That's about it for me, guys. I'm going to get back into the table. Feeling like putting in a decent session today, maybe like 8 or 9 hours. Feeling it today. Feeling it today. We're going to book another win. I think we're at 3 in a row now here, but very small wins. Hoping to book another one. That's enough yammering for me. Let's get back in there, win some more money. Go! All right, guys, another spell of card death, but this time we pick up pocket jacks in the big blind. Under the gun has raised to 300. Low jack and cutoff is called. When it comes to me, gonna put in the squeeze here. I bumped up to 1.9K. Big blind folds, and now the under the gun player puts in the re-raise. You know, it always seems to be like this when you're card dead. You always face pre-flop aggression. You know, you're playing one hand every hour or 2, and every time you open, you just get 3 or 4 bet. But he bumps up to 5.6K, folds back round. This should just be a fold. 4 bets are so nutted here, but I just make the call. We go heads up to a flop of King 10 5 rainbow. Check it over. My opponent puts in a bet of 3K. We're just done with the hand now. We beat ace queen, and that's it. Yeah, that's it. So we fold. On to the next hand. All right, on to the next hand. We pick up king queen off under the gun. Open up to 200. In the middle position, very active player. Now 3 bets us to 700. Folds back round, and this hand, if we want to continue, got to bring it up to 4 town. 2,100 Hong Kong dollars into the middle, and my opponent makes the call. We go heads up to a flop of 5 4 deuce, 2 hearts, 1 spade. Fortunately, a lot better for me than it is for my opponent. I still have all the overpair advantage, as well as most of my hands do have a gut shot here. So a small bet, 1,100 into the middle. and my opponent makes the call. Turns the jack of clubs, not my favorite card. Pocket jacks are never folding, and we have better hands to bluff with here. So I'm just gonna check it over, my opponent checks behind. River is a 7 of diamonds. Pot is around 6,550, and I want it. I want it bad. So I don't think he's gonna check back a strong hand on the turn. Maybe aces, a little bit worried about aces, a little bit worried about jacks, but for the most part, I don't think he's gonna call if he has kings. So this is just hugely profitable. So I'm gonna go for the overbet. I am all in, 12,000 into the middle, into the pot of 65.50. If you guys thought bankroll management is something I care about, it is not. We are trying to win as best as we can. And after quite a bit of thought, my opponent decides to let it go. We get another one through. All of my river all-ins have been bluffed so far. I have not gone to the river with value yet for a hand that I can shove. Unfortunate, but still picking up a nice pot there. All right, on to the next hand. We open the ace-6 of clubs in early position, up to 200, and we get 4 callers. The cutoff button, small blind and big blind, all make the call. We haven't been able to flop anything decent this session. You know, it's been a bit of a struggle, but we're gonna try our best this time. And we do just that on ace 9-6 with 2 hearts. So we got bottom and top pair. Nice spot to be in, pot's 1K. So I put in a bet of 300. The cutoff player makes the call, as does the big blind. So we want 3 ways to this turn, which is not great. It's the queen of hearts, so the flush does get there. Seeing as we're 5 ways to the flop, it's quite likely somebody has a flush here. So gonna go into defense mode, big blind checks, I check, and cutoff now bets 700. Big blind folds. This player is so much action, there's no way we are folding here. I make the call. Off to the river, looking for a clean one. It is the 3 of hearts. That is not clean. So think about it for a bit, check it over to my opponent. He thinks and checks it back and shows down. Get ready for this, guys. The 4-3 offsuit, 1 heart. Absolutely nothing on the flop, called with 3 players left to act. Tell you what, that hand has 1 heart. That man has an even bigger one. What a call. I am not complaining at all. That is some action. Love to see it, but that pot is not going to go our way. Damn it. Our first good hand on the flop, but that's okay. We move on to the next one. Clearly the money's moving around and it's going to come right back eventually. Okay, folks, we are back into town, back to the modern world with skyscrapers and crazy high prices for food. Open the 8-6 of spades under the gun. We had a low jack and high jack call before the small blind. Looks like he wants to call. He puts 200 chips in front of him, looking like he's about to call. And then after a while, he keeps tanking, and then 3 bets to 1.3K. Folds back to me, and you know, he almost called, but then he just goes for a raise. I don't believe this. We're going for the 4 bet. I bump it up 3.2K into the middle. We're a little bit deep here, about 200 big blinds effective. Folds back around, and after a little bit of thought, he does make the call. We go to a flop. It comes down jack of clubs, 4 of spades, 3 of spades. About as good as it can get when you have 8-6 of spades. We do have a flush draw. He checks. We're gonna start with a bet here. I put in 2K, and he calls. Off to the turn. It is the ace of diamonds. Really nice card, just in case he had a hand that was actually decent, which I don't think he does. He's probably got like 10s or 9s or something here. But when he checks it over, I thought my stack was around 8K here, but it's actually around 13K. So a slight overbet when I do move all in, but I think I like it anyways. Or just a little bit too wet, and we're gonna go quite polar here. I think even aces, we're just gonna ship it in, hope to cooler something like kings or queens that just can't find the fold. But we move all in. He gives it quite a bit of thought. We're in the blender. He's in the blender. We're just tanking. We're hoping he folds, and we get it through once again. Another bluff, another successful bluff. We have not been caught a lot. You know, people are just not catching me, so it's very nice to pick up that hand. 24,000 is now our stack, and we are now up 3,000 on the day. All right, guys, on to the next hand. The same player as before has raised up to $800 over 2 limps. I sense that he's a little bit tilted, but I don't know. Anyways, I look at King Jack suited in the hijack and decide to bump it up. You know, strong enough hand. He is raising very wide, so 2.5K to go. Folds back round, and he does make the call. Hand to a flop. It is ace 4-4, no backdoors, no hope. My opponent checks it, and I'm very happy to just bet this against this opponent and just take it down here. All right, he's gonna have to fold a lot of his hands, 8-7 suited, whatever. I'm just happy to see them go into the muck. Against a very good reg, this would be almost a pure check back, but against him, I put in 2,000. He thinks for quite a while, like 4 or 5 minutes, and then he does something very strange. He does a pump fake, where he goes to fold his cards like this very fast, like boom, right to the line, leaves them there for a second, and then throws out a 7K raise. What? What is going on? It completely threw me. Like, I was like, what? What's going on? What is this? And yeah, what the hell is that? So started thinking it over, and my instinct was just telling me, just shove. Just get the hand over with, just shove. We just want to deny all his equity. He's never got a 4 here. He may be playing an ace this way, but then I just feel really stupid if he just has like ace-6 offsuit and just calls it off. And then I started thinking, what does that pump fake mean? Why would he want to feign weakness and then go for the raise? I started thinking it over, like, weakness means strength. Weakness means strength. So I think that's why he's doing it. And I just wrestled back and forth with my thoughts. I could not pick an option. I don't want to call down, all right? I don't want to call down and just have him spike some stupid 3-outer and just win. So it's either all in because he's bluffing and we just want to take it down, even though we do have the best hand, right? We're almost never getting better to fold unless it's a hand like pocket 3s. But yeah, it's either all in or fold. And ultimately I decided, I think he just has an ace here and he's just overplaying, that he's just on pure tilt. So I fold, and as soon as I do, the man windmills king deuce of clubs in my face. All I had to do was shove. It was 15K shove to win 15K. I couldn't do it. After this hand though, I did see that this man literally pump fakes every single action he makes. He'll grab a 4K raise, go like this over to the line, and then throw it back towards him and then check. So it's just what he does, and everyone kind of puts up with it because he is a big whale. But anyways, very brutal hand to lose, especially getting king deuce windmilled at me. Later on in the session, his mood did improve and we started battling, and it was a lot of fun once again after that, once his tilt sort of cooled off. Anyways, that mojito has got me in the mood for a cocktail, like a proper one. So I'm gonna head on down to St. Regis, get myself a nice Manhattan, and then we're gonna continue these hands, but I'll see you in St. Regis. Welcome back, folks. After a few too many cocktails at the St. Regis last night, I decided to finish off my hand history. There's only 2 left. I'm going to do them today. The piano playing was very excellent, and the cocktails were fantastic. It's a great night. In this next hand, Under the Gun +2 is open to 300. Low jack is called. I'm looking at Jack 10 offsuit in the cutoff versus these 2 specific players, and with the player in the big blind, I need to call extremely wide here. Extremely wide. So I call the Jack 10 off. Small blind also calls. We go 4 ways to a flop of ace, king, 3 rainbow. Action surprisingly checks all the way to me. Just going to check this one back. I'm not bluffing these 2. So I check it back. And on the turn, we see the queen of spades. Beautiful. Action once again checks to me. Going to go for about 1/3 pot bet here. So 400 is the middle. And now small blind raises it up to 1.3K. Under the Gun +2 folds, low jack folds, and now it's back on me. If I just call, the SPR is too large on the river as well. I don't really believe this like double check and then go for the check raise. I'm not really believing this, but I just want to give him a chance to do something stupid. So I'm going to put in the 3 bet on the turn. I bump it up to 3,000, and after a little bit of thought, he makes the call. Opposite river looking for a blank, and we get it. It is the... Oh, I didn't even note it down. It was a complete blank. I think it was like the 8 of hearts or like the deuce of diamonds, just complete blank. I think for a little bit, When he checks to me, we are down to 1 SPR here, so it's only 1 sizing to use. I move all in. And he thinks about 30 seconds and unfortunately just folds, but pretty nice pickup there. All right, and final hand for the vlog. We are playing against a very competent reg. It looks like he lives here in Macau. I've seen him play the higher limits. I think the 100, 200, maybe the 200, 400. But he's opened the cutoff to 300, and I looked down at 5-4 off in the big blind. I think this is a defend, so I make the call. We go heads up to a flop of 3, deuce, deuce, 2 spades, 1 heart. I think versus cutoff, this is a lead, but versus button, it's not, because button will still have ace deuce off, but cutoff shouldn't. So I think big blind versus cutoff, this is a leading board. So that's what I do. 200 into the middle, and after a little bit of thought, my opponent does continue. And to turn, it's the 3 of diamonds. Still a really nice card for me. I will be leading almost all my 3x on the flop. So a card is going to improve me a lot more than my opponents, but we don't have to go too big here. We're targeting, if we had a full house here, we are targeting hands like overpairs, which are essentially dead to 2 outs. So I think a little bit over half pot is fine here. So I put in 600, and once again, my opponent calls. Off the river, it is the 4 of spades, improving us to top pair, but it's never good. It's never good. My opponent just doesn't have ace high, and I don't feel like checking this back. If he did have a flush draw, it's still gonna be really tough for him to call here with a double paired board. And with my overwhelming range advantage here, picking a hand like 5-4 that has a little bit of removal, not too much, but a little bit, I think would make a very nice bluff. So I go for the 2x overbet, 4,500 into the middle. And we face a very intimidating stare down, and thinks it over for quite a bit. He is very, very, very suspicious. We're just hoping it gets through. We're just hoping it gets through. And finally, he decides on a fold. That is good news. Very happy to take that one down, and that is our final hand at the Wynn. Alright guys, wrapping up that session. I'm so glad I found the Wynn. Steve is always here when you need him. We bought in, we were in the game for 21,000. I kind of topped off a bit. I just wanted to match some stacks. Didn't want to play too short, 100 bigs. In for 21,000, out for $29,010. So 8K profit. Nice, nice. Just over 10 big blinds an hour. I think we played just around 8. Starting roll for this video was 41,550. Now sitting at 49,310. We ate some lunch and breakfast, but I'm gonna go walk around old Macau now, take a look around and get some dinner. And then tomorrow, I'm gonna edit this video that you're watching right now, and I'm gonna go to the place that you saw me review the hands from in the future. Don't know where it's gonna be. Perhaps it's gonna do with pandas. It's a little panda museum or something, but that is it for me, guys. I think we're gonna be seeing a lot more Wynn over the next few weeks. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week.